Sorry. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining and taking time to review our 2020 health and safety meeting, which will be recorded on Zoom. In past, this meeting has been in person in the evening with guest speakers and video presentations. This year, due to COVID-19, we have made the alternative arrangements to ensure we're able to communicate with you. The current state of our company in regards to our safety performance, our safety goals, and our new and revised policies and procedures. None of us could have predicted the current COVID pandemic and all of the challenges that have taken place over the last 9 months, but Comtrade has met these challenges. I thank each and every worker who has embraced these ever-changing work conditions and worked hard to maintain a safe workplace for themselves and their co-workers. Comtrade management are staying current with all COVID changes and expect all workers to follow all COVID requirements as they roll out. To date, the expectation is that every worker complete a daily screening questionnaire, wear their mask whether or not they're in their personal workspace, does not come to work if any illness or symptoms, advise their supervisor or foreman of any illnesses or testing taking place, follow all additional customer COVID requirements. On top of all these requirements, we still need every worker to work safely every day to ensure we reduce the risk of accident or injury. Over the last couple of years, Comtrade has experienced a couple incidents with improper or no lockout, resulting in a couple shocks to workers. We continually strive to be an industry leader in safety performance. However, this will only occur if each and every worker make it their personal responsibility to ensure they and their co-workers are working safely at all times. In addition, we also experienced some very serious vehicle accidents throughout our group of companies, and Comtrade management expects every worker who operates a company vehicle to do so safely. To do this and to avoid potential accidents, you need to follow all the rules of the road, do not speed excessively, do not text while driving, wear your seatbelt, be aware of your surroundings, and be a defensive driver. We will continue to track at-risk drivers to ensure they are accountable for their actions. This is not only your driving habits, but includes how you represent Comtrade during your interactions with our customers at their sites and with the general public on roadways. We do not condone or allow aggressive driving, tailgating, inappropriate body language, hand gestures, or any other unprofessional conduct while representing Comtrade. I and the Comtrade management team believe we have an extremely professional and knowledgeable workforce who are keenly motivated to provide exceptional customer service. To enhance this, we must individually and collectively embrace a sincere safety culture with a real and dedicated focus on safety by every worker, from new hires, supervisors, to management personnel. Our customers demand this of us. I thank all of you, and I look forward to many years of positive health and safety performance. We all want to go home safely to our families each and every day. Thank you. So now I'd like to go over the 2021 health and safety policy. And this policy is renewed every year and signed by myself. So the management of Comtrade is committed to the health and safety of all of its employees. All management, supervisors, and workers must be committed to the continuing objective of reducing risk of injury. Comtrade recognizes that all workers have the right to work in a safe and healthy workplace. Management is aware of the optimum production and accident prevention are directly related. Comtrade will make every effort to provide a safe work environment and a work environment that promotes occupational health. All employees must be dedicated to creating and maintaining a safe, healthy work environment at all times. Management is committed to work in a spirit of consultation and cooperation with all workers. Management, supervisors, and each and every worker have the responsibility to protect their own safety and the safety of coworkers by working in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the relevant regulations, as well as the safe work practices and procedures established by Comtrade, its clients, and general contractors. Commitment to health and safety must form an integral part of their organization, from the president to the workers. We will succeed by understanding and accepting and executing our safety obligations in a consistent and unified approach. It is in the best interest of all parties to consider health and safety in every activity. At Comtrade, we believe safety is a measure of success. As I said earlier, that is dated every year and signed by myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ, for the introduction there. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Patrick Fitzgibbons, and I will be reviewing Comtrade's annual continual education for the supervisor's goals. In 2019, Comtrade unfortunately had multiple lockout incidents that resulted in shocks to our workers. Luckily, none of them resulted in locking out is not only the safe thing to do, it is required by law. Locking out is required under the Occupational Health and Safety Act to protect workers from energy sources. In 2019, some of the lockout violations for all TM group of companies included leaving keys in lock, locks not locked. We have to make sure we do a tug test to ensure. Locking out to incorrect location or hasp, or the hasps not in the correct location. Locking out on wrong lockout location. Giving a coworker their personal key or leaving keys at the lockbox location. Big one, not locking out at all. And not testing to assure the lockout was completed properly. In 2020, Comtrade management shows that our goal for continual education of supervisors is to have all supervision complete the lockout and test module on Dunk. This is to ensure our supervisors refresh their skills and knowledge on the Comtrade lockout and test policies and procedures to reduce the risk and injury and instances of lockout violations at our work sites. This year, 100% of our supervisors completed the lockout and test module on Dunk. I want to thank everybody who has completed this training. As a recap, Comtrade has a lockout and test policy that must be adhered to at all times. Isolation and testing shall be used to ensure the health and safety of personnel where the unexpected startup or release of stored residual energy could cause injury. Lockout and tagout processes involve more than just putting a lock on a switch. A lockout procedure is a comprehensive step-by-step process that involves communication, coordination, and training. The steps include prepare for shutting down the equipment, notify all affected employees, equipment shutdown. The next step includes isolation of systems from hazardous energy, dissipation, removal of any residual or stored energy, lockout and tagout, verify the isolation through testing, perform maintenance or the service activity, and again, the last and not least, remove the lockout and tagouts once everything has been correctly and safe. Unfortunately, we had one lockout incident in early 2020. Luckily, that did also not cause injury, but the worker did receive a shock. Every manager, coordinator, supervisor, and worker must ensure that the safe and effective lockout is a daily minimum expectation. There's too much at stake not to take the time to lock out properly each and every time. Your life or your co-workers depend on that. Every individual must ensure to take the time to understand the lockout procedure at all times. Place locks in the correct locations. Test and verify the lockout is in fact working properly prior to starting any work. Again, as always, if you require further information or have questions, Comtrade has a lockout policy which can be found in our health and safety manual on the tablets, or any one of us can be contacted at any time. So for 2021, our safety goal is we're going on site inspection. This coming year, Comtrade's management shows our goal for continual education of supervisors to be on site inspections. We expect all supervisors to complete the online Dunk module workplace inspections. In our annual core audit, we ask workers, number one, are any other workers involved in the inspection process? And number two, how do you find out about the inspection results? Most often, these were the most poorly answered questions. Management recommended that the foreman review the findings of the weekly inspections during their weekly required safety talks with their crews. These safety talks should review the topic of the week, but also current issues on site, inspection results, and any other questions or concerns the workers have of the current health and safety issues at the work site. Comtrade expects all foremen to complete a weekly site inspection for the job site. This is a legal requirement, and Comtrade tracks this to ensure the foremen are completing this legislative requirement. For workers. A requirement for all workers is to report hazards immediately, and every worker has the right to refuse unsafe work. At our work sites that have more than 6 workers, a safety rep shall be appointed by their peers, and they are to complete a monthly inspection of their work site. Comtrade work areas, lay down, lunchrooms, all parts that you interact with throughout the day. There is a form on the tablet for the selected safety rep to complete the monthly inspection. Workers also must inspect their equipment prior to use, completing a daily pre-trip inspection for forklifts, man lifts, or any other mobile equipment. Also, workers must inspect their harnesses and fall protection equipment prior to use. Everyone at Comtrade must do their part to ensure we are working in a safe environment at all times. Please do not walk past any hazards. If you see something unsafe, correct it immediately or red tape it off and make others aware of the hazards. Thanks for having us today. Dave Strauss will be up next reviewing our health and safety statistics. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to review our safety statistics and our goals for both 2020 and 2021. Comtrade has an excellent safety record. We've had very few recordable injuries in the last few years, and overall, the record that we have is excellent. So hopefully we can continue to work together to keep it that way. You'll see there that in 2019 we had 65,000 worked hours, and in 2020 101,000 worked hours, which is almost an 80% increase, or around an 80% increase. So it's excellent. Our injuries, the number of injuries and incidents that we had stayed relatively similar. So with that many more worked hours, that's an excellent result. So you can go down there in 2020 and see we had no critical injuries, no lost time injuries, no fatalities. We had 3 medical aids, 4 first aids, 7 total injuries, 3 near misses, and 1 vehicle incident, for a total recordable injury rate of 0, which is the best that you can have. That's excellent. And where that really plays in is the pre-qualifications for upcoming work. So when engineering firms and different clients ask us to pre-qualify, this becomes a very, very important metric that they use to differentiate one contractor from another. So 0 is the best possible record that we could have. So everybody should be proud of that. And hopefully we can, again, continue with that moving into the future. So I'm going to move on to our safety goals for 2020. So our safety goals for 2020 was 0 lost time injuries, which we did achieve, which is excellent. While we're talking about lost time injuries, I just want to remind everyone that Comtrade does have a return to work plan policy for anybody that does get injured on the job. So if you do have somebody get injured on the job, please work together with the health and safety group, and they will find suitable meaningful work for a quick return to work for our people. And that helps us reduce any kind of potential WSIB claims, costs, and also gets the worker back to work so they don't lose any compensation as well. Our second goal for 2020 is 0 vehicle incidents. My apologies, I jumped to number 3. I'll talk about number 3 first, then I'll go back. So we did have 1 rear end accident in 2020, and we also had 1 in 2019. So overall, we have a lot of vehicles on the road. We do a lot of miles combined as a group, so it's not too bad, but hopefully we'll be able to make that even better. If I jump back to number 2, Pat talked in detail about this continuing education goal, and we did have 100% participation in that goal for last year. So thank you very much for helping us with that. Our goal number 4 for 2020 was achieving core certification, which we were again successful at. So everybody should be proud of the fact that we do carry the core certification. Again, that is an important designation for our clients. When we're representing ourselves to our clients, trying to sell ourselves, that core, it helps us stand out from our competitors. So excellent work there. We're currently in the 2nd year of core right now, doing an internal audit. Our last goal for 2020 for last year was ensuring proper lockout. And Pat also talked about this. We did have a lockout incident early in 2020. So again, just remind everybody that how important lockout is. Pat talked a lot in detail about that, but the expectation is 100% lockout at Comtrade. So Unfortunately, the odd time when we do have somebody that doesn't want to follow the rules, we do have a disciplinary policy, but hopefully we won't need to use it. But again, just emphasizing the importance of that could easily be the biggest risk that you guys face on your job sites. I'm going to move on to 2021 goals here. So again, 0 lost time injuries. So, moving forward, we want to continue with that as a goal. So we don't want anyone getting hurt on our sites anytime ever. So again, just a reminder to continue to be dedicated to, housekeeping, PPE, following safe work practices, reviewing and reporting any hazards that happen on the job site. So one example that we had at one of the trademark groups of companies is recently we had a worker slip on some ice. So with this being winter conditions out there in the time of the year, so please, make special note of any kind of winter conditions, ice, and make sure areas are salted, proper footwear, lighting, etc. So we can avoid those types of incidents. Our second goal for this coming year is to increase the focus on PPE use. So we want to make sure that everybody's wearing their PPE at all times on all of our sites. So this includes, wearing safety glasses. Expectation is you are wearing safety glasses on all of our sites. I know that in Comtrade's case specifically, that not all of our clients demand safety glasses on all of our sites. However, that is one of our expectations. We did have 2 workers in 2020 have to go to the hospital to have dust flushed out of their eyes. So please make sure that you are overly diligent in safety glass use on our sites. Also with COVID-19 here, everybody I think is fully aware of the mask requirements to make sure they're being worn all the time and properly up over the nose. So hopefully with that won't continue for too much longer, but for the foreseeable future, I think that's going to be the case. So our second goal is increased focus on PPE use. Third goal, again, is continued education. Pat touched on this pretty well. Last year was the lockout, and this year is going to be on site inspection modules. So you'll see some emails and you'll hear more about that. But if you guys could also help us complete that training for this coming year, that would be much appreciated. Fourth goal for 2021 is increased focus on driving habits. So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but we do have a very good driving record at Comtrade, but we are, as a group of companies trademark, we have some poor performers out there, and our insurance company has some pressure on us. We do insure the group of companies under one umbrella. So we are focusing on driving habits across the whole group of companies. So things like speeding and aggressive driving, things like that are going to be targeted. So please, as Russ mentioned, just simply be courteous and respectful when you're out on the roads, and always remember that you're representing the company while you're driving to and from work and about your day. The fifth goal that we have is for all of our foremen to complete 100% first aid training. It's a legal requirement for us to have one worker on every site that has first aid training. And one of the easy ways for us to hit this is to target our foremen. So if all of our foremen have it, that generally covers all of our sites. So these courses are offered over a 2-night course. And you'll see a training schedule come out with Craig here shortly for the spring training. So again, please help us in getting you guys trained and partake in the training. That would be appreciated. Overall, with all of our safety initiatives, core daily risk assessments, safety talks, strong leadership, and with the driven workforce that we have, we will continue to succeed at having an excellent safety record. So thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Dan Rieger now to speak about violence and harassment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Hello, my name is Dan Rieger, and I will be reviewing Comtrade's violence and harassment policies today. Workplace violence policy review. Management of Comtrade is committed to the prevention of workplace violence and ultimately responsible for workers' health and safety. We take whatever steps are reasonable to protect our workers from workplace violence from all sources. Violent behavior in the workplace is unacceptable from anyone. This policy applies to all employees, visitors, customers, and delivery persons. Everyone is expected to uphold this policy and work together to prevent workplace violence. Comtrade has a workplace violence program that implements this policy, which includes measures and procedures to protect workers from workplace violence and a means of summoning immediate assistance and a process for workers to report incidents or raise concerns. Comtrade, as an employer, will ensure this policy and supporting program are implemented and maintained. Comtrade management recognizes that all workers have the right to work in an environment free from workplace violence. All workers and supervisors will receive appropriate information and instructions on content of the policy and program. Supervisors will adhere to this policy and the supporting program. Supervisors are responsible for ensuring that measures and procedures are followed by workers and that workers have the information they need to protect themselves. Every worker must work in compliance with this policy and supporting programs. All workers are encouraged to raise any concerns about workplace violence and report any violent incidents or threats. Management pledges to investigate and deal with all incidents and complaints of workplace violence in a fair and timely manner, respecting the privacy of all concerned as much as possible. Workplace Harassment Policy 2021. Comtrade is committed to providing a work environment in which all workers are treated with respect and dignity. Workplace harassment will not be tolerated from any person in the workplace, including customers, clients, other employers, supervisors, workers, and members of the public. Comtrade management recognizes that all workers have the right to work in an environment free from workplace harassment. Workplace harassment means engaging in a course of vexatious comment or conduct against the worker in the workplace and is known or ought reasonably to be known to be unwelcome or workplace sexual harassment. Workplace sexual harassment means engaging in a course of vexatious comment or conduct against a worker in a workplace because of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, where the course of comment or conduct is known or ought reasonably to be known to be unwelcome, or making a sexual solicitation or advance where the person making the solicitation or advance is in a position to confer, grant, or deny the benefit or advancement to the worker, and the person knows or ought reasonably to know the solicitation or advance is unwelcome. Reasonable action taken by the employer or supervisor relating to management and direction of the worker or the workplace is not workplace harassment. Workers are encouraged to report any incidents of workplace harassment to the appropriate person, which could be the direct supervisor, health and safety coordinator. Management will investigate and deal with all complaints, incidents of workplace harassment in a fair, respectful, and timely manner. Information provided about the incident or about the complaint will not be disclosed except as necessary to protect the worker, to investigate the complaint or incident, to take corrective action, or as otherwise required by law. Managers, supervisors, and workers are expected to adhere to the policy and will be held responsible by the employer for not following it. Workers are not to be penalized or disciplined for reporting an incident for participating in an investigation involving workplace harassment. If a worker needs further assistance, he or she may contact their respective union, JHSC, health and safety representative, or human rights legal support. Comtrade will not tolerate violent or harassing behaviors at any time. Comtrade has a violence and harassment program, which includes: number one, the role and responsibilities of all workplace parties. Two, reporting procedures. Number three, investigation procedures. Number four, workplace violence risk assessment for head office and sites. The following are steps to report an incident are: any person who feels that he or she experienced workplace violence or harassment may take the necessary steps to report these incidents to Comtrade without prejudice or fear of reprisal. If you believe that you have been subject to a workplace violence or harassment, number one, ask the person to stop. Most times this is enough. Number two, keep a record of all incidents to date, etc. Number three, if the violent or harassing behaviors does not stop, report the incident immediately to your supervisor and health and safety coordinator. Number four, health and safety or designated shall review and determine if a formal investigation is warranted. If the investigation reveals evidence to support the complaint of a workplace violence or harassment, appropriate measures will be taken. These may include disciplinary actions up to and including termination. Thank you for your time. And next that will be speaking is Norm Jackson.
Hello, everyone. Unfortunately, Norm Jackson had some technical difficulty. So my name is Craig McDonald. I'm the Health Safety Manager. I'll be reviewing WHMIS 2015. So as of 2018, there is now a new WHMIS required to be completed for training, which is called WHMIS 2015. This is a addition to the previous WHMIS, which includes some new pictograms and is now a global harmonized system. So just so everyone's aware, part of the training required annually, which all workers should complete on the DUNC and have in their training profile, that's required annually. The training reviews product labels, safety data sheets, and worker education programs. For classifications, there are new classifications as of 2018. As you can see on the right side of this PowerPoint, all workers should be familiarized with these new pictograms, which go in further detail in the training program. There's also safety data sheets. If you're ever working with a chemical for the first time, please refer to the safety data sheets. In the past, these were called material safety data sheets, or MSDS. Now, due to the global harmonized system, now they're simply called safety data sheets. We have them on our tablets for all chemicals we'd be working with. So if you are dealing with a new chemical, please refer to these safety data sheets prior to working with them. The safety data sheets have 16 different parts to them, such as first aid measures, and other items on how to safely work with this product. We also expect There are some confusions out in the industry of when the training needs to be completed. Trademark does it through the online dunk training, and they have a certificate on the dunk system that we can show our customers. More and more often, the customer is requiring the certificate, so please make sure annually to refresh this training. Okay. Sorry, Mallory, is there another slide for this? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just overall, sometimes there's confusion because it is called WHMIS 2015 on the certificate, and people are like, well, you know, I've done it this year, it's 2021 or 2020. The WHMIS 2015 is, that's the name of the training, but it needs to be refreshed every year. That's sometimes a confusion in the background. We do send out reminders, and you would get a dunk reminder if your training is expired, but please make sure it is currently up to date. And the recommendation is do it every January to make sure we are current with our customers. It can be a quick refresher on the dunk system, takes approximately 15 minutes. Okay. Thanks. Next, Mallory will be speaking of our core, which is certificate recognition.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, everyone. I'm Mallory Lutzen, one of the health and safety coordinators at Comtrade. And as Craig mentioned, I'm going to review CORE and the internal audit I conducted this year. So just a brief overview of CORE for those who are new to the company or a little bit unfamiliar with the program. It's basically a detailed audit of our health and safety program. It involves reviewing our policies, gathering documents, conducting site observations, and interviewing workers and supervisors to verify we are actually doing what our program says we do and that we are meeting legal requirements. So CORE proves that we have an effective health and safety management system in place. It tells our customers and constructors we shouldn't have any issues or delays in work because of safety, and our risk for workplace accidents or injuries is much lower than a contractor who isn't CORE certified. So we completed Comtrade's CORE external audit with a third-party external auditor about a year ago now, and that was when we were initially certified. An external audit is required every 3 years, and then each year in between, we are required to complete an internal audit, which is just about completed now for this year. There's just a few little things I have to finish up with it. Last year, our external audit score was 90.74%. This year so far, we are looking at a score of 97.07%. So we have seen some improvement since last year, which is great. I did just want to quickly review some corrective actions that came out of the audit, the internal audit 2021 so far, and they include our daily JSAs. So we would still like to see these a bit more detailed with specific hazards present on site, including hazards that may be introduced by other contractors. Some people are being really good and detailed with this, but there are a few others that could use a bit of work. We do want to let you guys know that we want to see you add to the risk assessment. So don't be afraid to add notes in the comment section beside the task and add hazards that aren't included in the list as well. If a new hazard becomes present throughout the day, please make sure you are adding this to your risk assessment as well, and add a little note in the comment section like new, or put in the time that it was added in, so it's clearly indicated that a new hazard was present and you're documenting that. Please also let us know if there are regular job tasks that you perform that aren't in the list, the automatic list that we provided for you on the form. We do want to make sure that we capture everything that we can and it gets added in for you. Another area was emergency plans. So we are lacking a little bit in being very specific to the type of emergencies and assigning specific roles and responsibilities. We really only focus on fire emergencies, but we do need to consider all other emergencies like electrical contact, roof collapse, chemical spills, severe weather, or any other site-specific emergencies you could possibly experience. There are a few other items that you can see listed on the slides. We will be working on all of these throughout the year to continually improve health and safety at Comtrade, and we'll communicate these changes to you guys as we complete them. So before I go, I did just want to thank everyone who had their site visited and participated in the interviews for the core audits that we've been doing. We really appreciate everyone's help with that. I'm now going to pass it off to Misty. Thank you.
Thanks, Mallory. Hello, everyone. My name is Misty Hurley, and I'm one of the health and safety coordinators here at Comtrade. So today we're going to talk about our safety work, paperwork performance, as well as our light and heavy commercial vehicle performance. So we're just going to start off by looking at a comparison chart of safety performance paperwork overall averages from week 28 to week 52. So those dates are included is June 2020 to December 2020. So as you can see for 2020 in week 28, we started at 90%. And we ended at 82% on week 52. Overall, I'd just like to note, Comtrade is usually one of the highest companies with their submissions for paperwork, so great work and keep it up. Everyone's really great if I reach out to them about paperwork, so thank you for that. And we just want to keep the goal going of over 85% being consistent, which I feel like Comtrade can do no problem. And then just in regards to kind of paperwork, just so that you understand how we get these numbers and when I track. So when I am tracking, I look at payroll reports, and on those reports, it shows me what day a foreman has worked. So for those days, I know the foreman was expected to complete a JM and a safety talk for that week, so then I can give them credit for it. And usually I'm 2 weeks behind for tracking, so that kind of gives you an idea of when to submit paperwork. Usually by the end of the week is very helpful. So everyone's been pretty good with that, so thank you. And in 2021, I may reach out to you from time to time if I see paperwork's not being handed in, but otherwise, thank you everyone for doing a really great job with your paperwork. Okay. Now we're just going to talk about the light commercial vehicle driving results. So basically, to note here is that we continue to monitor our fleet driving habits. We do driver analytics reports every quarter. So during each quarter, we pull these reports and it is presented to our managers at their quarterly management meeting. And the areas of focus, which Dave had mentioned earlier too, is aggressive driving, speeding, seatbelt violations. We will continue to do this in 2021 and follow up with anyone if we need to. This chart shows the Q1 to Q4 for 2020 for aggressive driving. These violations can include the hard acceleration, harsh cornering, and harsh braking. Overall, like Dave had mentioned before, Comtrade has a good driving record, so we want to keep that up, but we will monitor this, okay? And then we'll go on to our speeding. So these charts show kind of how it's progressed through the year for each quarter. So this one is reviewing our speeding violations. And it will go off if someone is speeding 130 or 140 over the limit. Obviously, this is something we want to not see happen. So again, Comtrade's pretty good with their driving record, so we'd like to continue that in 2021. Okay, and then this is a comparison chart for Q1 to Q4 2020 for seatbelt violations. So again, this is something that we're going to continue to review. Comtrade's pretty good for the most part, but we will continue to monitor it and pull driver analytics each quarter, okay? And now I'm going to pass you off to Craig, our health and safety manager. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to speak regarding our vehicle policies. As Dave had mentioned earlier, as well as Misty just now, we are closely monitoring our driving trends. Overall, Comtrade has been doing quite well on the roadways. This is just for overall trademark group of companies. We've had some quite serious incidents in the previous couple of years, and due to these severity of these incidents, and speaking with our insurer, we've had to modify some of our vehicle policies and our expectations for our workers on the roads. Obviously, the overall goal is to reduce our number of at-risk behaviors on the roadways, making the roadways safer for others and ourselves daily. We have updated our policies, and some of the key changes we've seen in our policies are we are now pulling driver abstracts anytime any workers hired at Comtrade and our other group of companies who will be driving a company vehicle. as well as we'll be pulling their driver abstracts twice a year thereafter. We'll also be modifying the definition of a high-risk driver in our policies, reducing the thresholds, and if we deem somebody to be a high-risk driver, there'll be other stipulations put in place for those drivers. We'll also have new limits in place when a driver is not permitted to operate a company vehicle due to these thresholds. Depending on number of tickets they've had, total points on their driver's abstract, and minor major convictions. We'll be evaluating driver GPS performance. Again, what kind of Misty touched on regarding speeding, accidents, aggressive driving, overall driving analytics, and our abstract review. We'll be putting corrective action procedures in place when we have workers who are exceeding these thresholds in the driver performance. That'll include emails to the drivers letting them know if they're exceeding speeds or aggressive driving, follow-up meetings, and other requirements, possibly retraining, or in the end, possibly not being able to operate our vehicles. Again, for the goal of safety for everyone. We will be updating our GPS, currently working with our provider. Currently, the vehicles beep at 30 kilometers over, at 130, and will send an email to us at 140 kilometers. We are working with our provider of GPS to have a live system where we can track speeding and aggressive driving up to the second. So moving forward, once we have this in place, the expectation is that in all pickups or light commercial vehicles, there'll be an in-cab beep if you're traveling 20 kilometers over the speed limit on any roadway, and an email warning will be sent to the driver at 30 kilometers over the speed limit on any roadway. For heavy commercial vehicles, we'll be reducing those further, and they'll beep in the cab at 15 kilometers over the speed limit on any roadway, and an email will be sent at 20 kilometers over the speed limit, again on any roadway. Drivers continue to speed after warnings have been sent and emails have been sent out, could be subject to further discipline, including retraining, suspensions. We will bring these drivers in for in-person meetings with their managers and the safety department group, and we will review on an individual basis. Okay. These policies have been updated into our 2021 Health and Safety Manual. If you're looking for any further information, please speak with your supervisor or trade manager or the safety group, and we can follow up with further information on this. Okay. Again, the whole goal is making sure we are driving safely on our roadways. Please make it a priority for yourselves. Give yourself enough time in the morning. Drive according to weather conditions. Please slow down. Don't drive distracted. The expectation is we're using hands-free devices. We're not texting while driving. Okay. Thank you. I'll next be speaking about working at heights. Just a little recap moving forward for 2021 on working at heights. Due to the pandemic and COVID, the Ministry of Labor had a buffer window last year due to not wanting to have in-class training. So any training certificates that were going to expire between February 28th and August 30th, they've extended that for an extra year window. So there's 4 years now instead of 3. So we will have training upcoming in the near future. So please, if your certification is up to expire, please get in one of these courses. Unfortunately, in 2020, we have had multiple working at heights violations at our trademark group of companies. We've had workers found from our customer, from the customer safety, not tied off in man lifts, working on top of structures not tied off if they're over 10 feet, in many other situations where they should be protected from falls and they weren't. Okay, please make sure if you are working at a site and you're working at heights that you are following all requirements. and properly protecting yourself, whether that be with guardrails, work platforms, or proper fall protection equipment tied off properly. Comtrade does have a zero tolerance policy for any of these tie-off violations. It's obviously not, it's extremely unsafe, but it's also viewed highly negatively by our customers who expect that Comtrade hires highly skilled tradesmen to complete their jobs safely at all times. Obviously, not tying off has many consequences, possible serious or fatal injuries. We get fines from the Ministry of Labor, discipline from internally at Comtrade, or in the eyes of the customer, possible loss of a customer due to unsafe acts at the job site. We have had customers in the past ask our workers to leave due to these unsafe actions. Okay. So at this time, we have no training scheduled due to the current stay-at-home orders, but we will be having new Working Unites refresher training coming up in March and April. So please, if your certificate has expired or will be soon, please reach out to myself. My email is on this PowerPoint, and book yourself in for an upcoming training session. Just on a recap of 2020 and what's taken place with COVID. It's been a year now. We've been dealing with this pandemic, and Comtrade has created many different items to stay with the requirements that continually change with the pandemic. So we have created site procedures for COVID-19. We also have head office procedures. We've been tracking possible worker cases at the sites and at the head office. For Comtrade, we have not had a positive case yet, so that's great news. Please continue doing what you're doing at the job sites, wearing your mask as required, hand sanitizer, socially distancing from others. We've also created many safety talks throughout 2020. We sent out bulletins and posters company-wide, obviously advising on how to properly wash your hands, social distance, and other items that we continually put out through emails and other to make sure we are educated on how to properly protect ourselves. The expectation for PPE is that we're expecting everyone wearing face masks unless you're eating or you're smoking. Something we are still seeing are workers traveling in vehicles together, not wearing masks. So please ensure, even if you're in a vehicle, that you're wearing a mask at all times if others are in the vehicle with you. Ensure at your job sites you have lots of hand sanitizer, and you're wearing gloves whenever possible. The expectation through the Ministry of Labor and Public Health is that we're also completing a daily questionnaire. There's many ways we can complete this at Comtrade. We have that QR scan me code on the side of the PowerPoint you can see. So you can do that from any smartphone or any smart device. These are required to be done daily before you start work in the morning. We also have a questionnaire on the tablets that you can complete through Field to Base. We only expect one of these completed a day per worker. So whether that's through the QR code, the Field to Base app, or if your customer has a requirement for you to complete their daily questionnaire, you can complete theirs. We don't need more than one completed, just required by law that everybody completes one prior to work daily. Okay. At our head office, we are also taking temperatures. This isn't a requirement by law, but this is an early adoption by Comtrade to, this is one of the early ways to detect COVID is by a heightened temperature, but that's not required by law. Required by law is a daily screening questionnaire. The temperature being taken is just an added layer of protection. For all workers coming to our jobs, our head office, they're also required to do a COVID questionnaire when they come to the reception on the iPad. And we have multiple of these temperature readers, one set up at a reception, as well as others throughout our building. We also are expecting masks to be worn at all times when you're away from your personal workstations or when workers are within 2 meters at your workstations. You're to wear a mask. Unfortunately, throughout all of the TM group of companies, we have had 19 COVID positive cases, 9 in Canada and 10 south of the border. At this time, all from Canada have now been cleared to come back to work, which is a positive. There are a couple down in south that are still unfortunately in quarantine and dealing with some of the symptoms. So please be safe every day. Your family expects it, and we expect it as a company. So please wear your mask, hand sanitize, and stay home if you're sick. Again, stay home if you're sick. The expectation is if you're not feeling well, stay home. Fill out the public health online questionnaire. That'll direct you on how to proceed moving forward, whether it be isolate, quarantine, go to a testing center for a COVID test. Please stay in contact with your supervisor throughout this process, and do not return to work until it's safe to do so, whether you have a follow up with the public health and they advise you you're allowed to come back, or you've waited the allotted self-isolation period. So please be safe. Thank you for your time today, and I will be passing this off to Russ Strauss for closing comments. Just be 1 minute.
Sorry about that. Comtrade workers need to recognize and embrace the importance of working safely. Each worker must be committed to safety, act on it, and follow through with it in your everyday work life and on the road, and of course, in your personal life. If you have any questions related to the material that has just been presented or any other safety-related issue, at any time, you can email myself directly, any of our managers, or our safety team at safety@tmi.ca. Comtrade management would like to thank you for continually working safely. Your completion of this module clearly signifies your commitment to health and safety in the workplace. Thank you and stay safe.